I feel, given recent events and the deaths of probably one of the brightest lights in the 3D and visual effects world, that we need to have a bit of a chat again about depression. Now, I'm not going to mention the guy's name or anything else because, one, I don't know anything for a certain fact. Two, I think it's sort of a bit dodgy given the subject I'm going to cover, but I'm sure you all know who I'm referring to. Now, we need to talk about how destructive visual effects and games and working in these environments can be on the human mind. For years, many of us have been saying, look, this is not healthy. This is really not good for anybody who has the slightest mental health problem. And often we were poo-hooed and told, oh, no, it's fine. It's just you. You're just special little snowflakes. And the rest of the people are fine. Really? Because well over 50% of all the visual effects and game artists I know suffer from one form of mental health problem or another. Now, does it attract people that have a non-neurotypical mind? Does it, exacerbate it in some way? That's open for debate. That's not the point of the video. But the creativity and the alternative mind come hand in hand. And it's no good business coming and saying, oh, well, we can't really change things. Oh, yes, you can. Fuck off. The reason why you won't is because you've set your bottom line so fucking low that the only way you can possibly make a profit is to overwork the people you employ and get them to do unpaid overtime. Let me illustrate a point. Now, I've suffered from depression all my life. I was spotted when I was in my mid to late teens, right? I regularly go up and down all over the place. I don't make a big secret of it. It's part of me. Now, at the end of every project, big project, I always go down in a mental dip for a few days. It's always happened. I expect it. Now, last night, I was sitting here because I've just finished the recording my new album, which is going to be coming out. And by the way, thank you for all people listening to the song, by the way. They're not all like that one. And I went down quite a deep rabbit hole. My wife was sitting in the kitchen. She had no idea. I had a complete inability to say anything to anybody. That is typical of mental health problems. Many places, not all, but many places, there's the culture of if you're not prepared to do 6 hours of unpaid overtime, then you're not really part of the team. And this is done on purpose by these companies. That's a bit of a shocker, isn't it? Because they're getting free labor and they're not idiots. You might think that you're the most unique artist on the planet. I have news for you. Nobody is. There's always somebody else who can do what you can do and do it to the same standard or better. So they see us as disposable. They don't really care. The bean counters are in charge. Now, their mindset, whether they admit to it or not, there's always another. We're disposable. We might see ourselves as artists in air quotes, and I fucking hate air quotes, but I'm going to use them a lot in this video. But really what we are production artists. It's no different to working in McDonald's or working in a factory. You're stamping burgers out all the time. Stamp, that looks bad, but you know what I mean? I'll tell you what I've learned from working from home. I've worked from home for the last 5 years, and, when I've not been working away for the majority of my life, I was working from home. You probably realize that your work at home life blurs, the line blurs, right? Eventually, the line disappears. That's the scary bit. Suddenly, instead of finishing work at, say, 6 o'clock and, going home and having something to eat and, watching some TV and maybe going for a drink on a weekend, you find yourself, but if I just sort this scene file out, I'll just sort this simulation or whatever, I'll just finish this before I go to bed and then I'll be able to sleep. Suddenly you find yourself working all the time, even when you're not supposed to. There's no time off anymore. And companies quite like this because they're getting loads of stuff done that they're not paying for. But it's not good for your mental health. They must have off time. Ironically, from a personal point of view, I've always found that doing things and finishing off a scene or whatever so that I can get to sleep properly. Doesn't work. One, late at night, you're more inclined to make a mistake and fuck up and redo it the next day anyway. Two, because you're sitting in front of fucking huge monitors blasting light into your eyes, you've got more chance of being awake all night anyway. Use your brain. There's a big difference between paying lip service and saying, well, yes, we have we're very accepting of people with mental health problems and non-neurotypical people, and the actuality. Let me draw you an analogy. Most people in this day and age have no problem with gay people, or black people, or Jewish people, or anybody else, right? However, you sometimes see people and they're like, oh yeah, I've got no problem with gay people, like, none whatsoever, until they find out their son is gay, and then suddenly it goes nuclear. It's a similar thing with mental health. There's different types of mental health. Now, yes, depression is by far, in a way, the greatest number of artists, but I've seen many other types of mental health. Depression is one of the, I hate the word, but it's one of the cooler mental health problems. You can get away with it as an artist because, it helps them be creative and stuff. When people have the real problem is things when people have like psychosis, schizophrenia, things like this. Things that I've seen and experienced close up and personal with people I know extremely well. That is fucking scary shit. That is not entertaining. That will screw up your life as well as theirs if you're not careful. So there's a big difference between playing lip service to it and actually being understanding and accepting. The industry needs to realize it is not dealing with a load of fucking robots. We are human beings. We have our feelings. I have mine. I've got a shit ton of them. It's not all just depression. Depression is what I call the acceptable face of mental health problems. You've got some things that are far more severe and far more damaging both to the person and those around them. Things like psychosis, schizophrenia, real, what I call the AAA of mental health problems. I've experienced people very close to me over a number of years, some of the most scary shit that I hope nobody ever has to, experience. Now, a lot of people, when they see that sort of a problem, they run for the fucking hills because, I ain't getting paid enough for that shit, Now, so being accepting of mental health should mean all mental health, not just the little bits that you find socially acceptable or interesting. And to balance the other side of the coin, I'll illustrate two different firms that I've worked for over the years, right? With two different approaches. One firm, although it wasn't a mental health problem I was going through at the time, physically I was falling apart. I was working too many hours. I was only 2 years from my first stroke, and really I was being a bloody idiot. And they were really good. They went above and beyond the call of duty to make sure that, I was able to still do the job without dropping dead, which is a very, very real chance at the time. Then another firm I worked for, which shall remain nameless, because I'll get sued into orbit, even though it's the truth. They overworked a lot of their staff well past breaking point. Many of them had mental health problems anyway. Their depression went off the scale. One guy, which I've covered before in videos, had a psychotic episode and was seeing rats in the vending machines. Obviously, there were no rats, shocker. Their response to this was to pack him off home for a couple of weeks and then he had to come back in and do it all over again. There's times when I've been like a leader, department head, and I've flagged that somebody is really heading for a major mental health crisis. Some firms have been fine about it, and they've been very understanding, and they've done the best, properly the best, usually the smaller firms. Some, you get poo-hoo, you'll get nothing. In fact, if anything, they'll try and find a way to get rid of that person that's having the problem. So we need to take a long, hard look at the 3D industry, the visual effects industry. I'm including compositors and matte artists, everybody in this, right? We need to stop this unhealthy work practice. I would like to think that this is not the start of a massive trend. Because with more people working from home, given the sheer number of people who suffer from mental health problems, this could feasibly become the start of a trend. Look after yourself. More importantly, from firms, stop making fucking excuses and start changing your work practices to what is best for your workforce. Most other industries, it would not be put up with the way that you do things. You do not get to make a different set of fucking rules and laws just because you're making pretty pictures for a fucking film or a game. So what I'm saying with the industry, because the battery's running low on this, is for God's sake, change. Let's not make this the start of another wave of people giving into depression and ending up since 6 feet under. I'm William Robson. Bye-bye.